Howdy folks, it's the first week of January 2026, and welcome to This Week in the West. I'm Seth Spillman, broadcasting from the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City. On this podcast, we share stories of the people and events that shape the history, art, and culture of the American West, and those still shaping it today. It's said that Tom Mix was larger than life. That was certainly true of his story, his Hollywood career, and honestly, his cowboy hat. Mix famously wore oversized white Stetsons, some towering more than 7 inches high and nearly 14 inches across. At the height of his fame, Stetson was custom-making hats for the movie star. The bigger, the better. We even have one of those towering hats here at the museum, made for Mix in 1925. Let's tell the story of one of the very first cowboy matinee idols born this week on January 6th, 1880. Tom Hezekiah Mix was born in Mix Run, Pennsylvania, a rugged settlement tucked deep in the state's northern woods. His father worked as a stable master and taught him to ride almost as soon as he could walk. Drawn early to horses and hard work, Mix took jobs on nearby ranches and farms as a young man. In 1898, with the nation on the brink of the Spanish-American War, Mix enlisted in the U.S. Army. His unit never saw combat, and in 1902, after overstaying a furlough to marry Grace Allen, he was listed as AWOL, absent without leave. The marriage lasted less than a year. Not long after, Mix left Pennsylvania and his old life behind and headed west. By the early 1900s, Mix had landed in Oklahoma, scraping together a living however he could. Bartending in Guthrie, drumming with the Territorial Cavalry Band, working at the Dewey Portland cement plant, and taking ranch jobs wherever they were available. Everything changed when he crossed paths with the Miller brothers of the legendary 101 Ranch. They hired Mix first as a ranch hand and soon as a performer in the 101 Ranch Wild West show. On horseback, he stood apart. He was a superb rider, a crack shot, and a natural showman. He began winning national roping and riding contests, and before long realized that the spotlight might suit him just as well as the saddle. In 1909, Mix married Olive Stokes, who was part Cherokee and an accomplished cowgirl in her own right. They welcomed a daughter, Ruth, in 1912, and years later, Olive would document her life with Tom in a memoir. And then, the movies arrived. The Selig Polyscope company came to Oklahoma to film a short documentary titled Ranch Life in the Great Southwest. Mix appeared as himself, riding, roping, and working cattle for the camera. Audiences loved it. For the first time, moviegoers saw cowboys not as mythic figures, but as real working hands, and Tom Mix stole the show. Selig signed him on the spot. Between 1909 and 1917, Mix made more than 230 films for the company. Most of them one-reelers and many shot in Oklahoma or New Mexico. They were fast-paced, action-filled stories, and Mix, performing his own stunts, was magnetic. Audiences couldn't get enough. When Selig ran into financial trouble during World War I, Mix began looking for bigger opportunities. He found them with William Fox of the Fox Film Corporation. Fox admired Mix's athleticism, valued that he performed his own stunts, and initially offered him $350 a week. With Fox's nationwide distribution behind him, Mix vaulted from a regional favorite to an international celebrity. At Fox, Mix helped transform the Western from short 15-minute quickies into full-length adventure films. His popularity soared, and the studio soon raised his salary to $17,500 a week, an extraordinary sum that would equal roughly $15 million a year in today's dollars. Flush with success, Mix quickly put his wealth to use. He built Mixville, a 12-acre western town on the studio lot, complete with a saloon, jail, frontier storefronts, and even a faux mountain range designed for high-speed chase scenes. His films established much of the visual vocabulary of the Western in the 20th century. Heroes wore white hats, villains wore black. There were daring horseback rescues, clear moral lines, and the idea that a cowboy's best friend was his horse. Mix's was Tony the Wonder Horse, who became a star in his own right, astonishing audiences with carefully trained tricks and death-defying stunts. But while Mix worked relentlessly and lived lavishly, cracks began to form. He divorced Olive, then married an actress, and the strain of constant travel and extravagant spending soon took its toll. Even at the height of his screen fame, Mix never fully left the arena, returning to Wild West shows for the rush of live audiences. But Hollywood was changing. Silent films gave way to talkies, and Mix was suddenly out of step. In 1928, Fox didn't renew his contract. A year later, everything collapsed at once. A tax dispute, the stock market crash, and the loss of his fortune and Arizona ranch. Needing work, Mix hit the road again, touring with the Sells Floto Circus from 1929 to 1931. He rebuilt part of his fortune performing trick riding and roping acts. In 1932, he married his fifth and final wife. Universal offered a brief return to film, but injuries and changing tastes pushed Mix back to the circus for good. In 1935, Mix made one last major Hollywood mark with the 15-episode mascot picture serial The Miracle Rider, earning $40,000 for a 4-week shoot. The serial was a smash hit, and its high-speed chase scenes, filmed among the sandstone boulders of Chatworth, California, remain some of the finest of early westerns. But the twilight of his career was far from a Hollywood ending. Over his lifetime, Mix earned an estimated $6 million, well over $130 million in today's money, yet much of it was quickly spent or lost. On October 12, 1940, while driving through Arizona after visiting a friend, Mix approached a washed-out detour at high speed. His car overturned, killing him instantly. He was 60 years old. Thousands attended his funeral at the Little Church of the Flowers in Glendale, California. At the site of his death, a simple stone marker reads, "In memory of Tom Mix, whose spirit left his body on this spot and whose portrayals in life helped fix memories of the Old West in the minds of living men." Mix appeared in nearly 300 films, though tragically many were destroyed in the 1937 Fox Vault fire. In 1958, he was inducted into the Hall of Great Western Performers here at the Cowboy. And with that, we've doffed our hats to another episode of This Week in the West. Our show is produced by Chase Spivey and written by Mike Kaler. Follow us and rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. That'll help us reach more people. Come visit us in Oklahoma City. You can buy tickets online at thecowboy.org. Got a question or a suggestion? Drop us an email at podcast@thecowboy.org. We leave you today with the words of author Paul Mix, no relation, in his biography of the movie star. Tom Mix has always been considered more or less a man of mystery. It's extremely difficult to distinguish between Tom's legendary acts of heroism and true-life adventures. The legend of Tom Mix will probably never die. Much obliged for listening, and remember, come find your West here at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum.